Welcome to the Up in Your Family Business podcast, where we dive into the heart of family business with intimate interviews, expert insights, inspirational stories, valuable resources, and practical tips to help grow your family business. All right, I want to start by thanking you for listening and or watching this episode of the Up in Your Family Business podcast. Your time is limited and valuable, and there are so many things you could be doing other than listening or watching this. So I appreciate that. I do believe there are many different ways you could be spending your time, and hopefully this will be worthy of that time. So thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. The goal and the purpose of this podcast, with the help of our guests, are to help family businesses gain insights, solve problems, be inspired, seize opportunities, and achieve multi-generational prosperity. So there's some really big expectations for you. So you got to, through our podcast today, you got to give people insights, help solve some problem. You have to inspire them. They have to see some opportunity, and you better make sure that when they leave today, they know exactly how they can achieve multi-generational prosperity. It's all on you today.
How hard can it be?
It can't be that hard. We'll get through it. What we're going to talk about today, they're all in there. It's all in there. So today's guest is Sean Kirby, second generation at Performance Group, an organization in Pendleton, Indiana, providing financial solutions in the areas of insurance, which is your favorite, tax preparation, and accounting for businesses and individuals. Thank you, Sean, for being here today. I really appreciate you setting your time aside to be here with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you for having this beautiful studio that we can spend our time in. And thanks for the free coffee that he gave me when I walked in.
There you go. Saved you $5, right?
Honestly, I almost stopped on my way, but I assumed that somebody would have a cup I could steal.
Well, and if you want more, we can always pause the podcast, step out for a few minutes, and get you some more.
Get me too jittered.
That's right. I usually drink water. I have water and coffee. Not a good idea before a podcast episode being recorded.
Well, we're going to do our best to make it all the way to the end.
We'll do it. We'll do the best. So if you see me over here going,
cut. Got to go to the restroom.
All right, Sean. So sometimes when I have guests, I go ahead and introduce and share all the details. Why don't you go ahead and share with us, in your own words, a little bit about yourself, particularly at Performance Group, and then tell us a little bit more about, I shared what you guys do, just share a little bit more about Performance Group.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my name is Sean Kirby. I run our property casualty insurance side at the Performance Group. We also have the tax accounting arm that I've taken a larger role in probably the last 5 years. So Dad started his financial practice in 2004, right there in downtown Pendleton. He bought the old laundromat. So it was Oliver's Laundrorama, and now it's called Lenny B's Laundromat, which is named after my great-grandmother. Oh. And then B stands for Bell, and that's what we ended up naming our second daughter after.
Really?
Poppy Bell. And then, so that was actually my first job. My first, family business was actually on Saturdays. They'd drop us off at the laundromat because it was still an attended laundromat, and we'd fold other people's underwear.
No, you wouldn't.
I would. And then I always tell this story. So Dad would drop us off. This was pre-cell phones, right? And he said, good luck. You have a landline phone and a tiny TV, and you charge people X amount per pound to do their laundry.
Per pound?
Per pound. That's how we did it. So it was a poundage based. And for lunch every day, I'm still a 12-year-old kid, I would take as many quarters as I could find, and I would call Donnie's, the local bar across the street, and I'd order a hamburger, and I'd take them $10 in quarters, and they wouldn't let me inside. They'd meet me outside, and they'd give me my hamburger, and I'd give them $10 in quarters. I never got paid for that job, but I ate my way through it.
I'm feeling like an episode of Seinfeld coming on with Kramer with the laundromat, trying to put concrete in there and paying with quarters and everything.
Oh, yeah. Everybody in town knew me because I was a quarter kid.
Okay, so you were 12.
Yeah, roughly. Dad bought that when I was 8, and then he wouldn't start dropping. He dropped my older sister off first, and then I eventually got that duty when she didn't want to wake up when she turned 14.
So you were not selling insurance at age 12?
I was not. I got licensed when I was 18.
Okay.
Dad didn't buy the agency until I was 22.
Okay.
So he had a multifaceted financial practice. Started financial, which is more the advisory side. 2004, 2009, he started a tax accounting practice. Purchased a second practice, acquired a practice in 2015, and then started the property casualty in 2017. So now we are this three-headed monster, and then he's a serial entrepreneur with his hands in all sorts of other things.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. I always hear about insurance companies. I mean, you obviously grow organically, but I do often hear about growth through acquisition, through mergers and things like that. So he went that route as well.
Yeah, so it's hard to get in the business, at least to get into property casualty, right? So buying an existing practice that already had cash flow rather than starting scratch, right? And he's again, he's come from that financial arm, so he looks at things as investments. So he wanted to invest and purchase that as an opportunity to cross-sell and everything else for his clientele, just more of a holistic approach. So, yeah, he brought a lady in 2012, just leased office space, and then they always had a purchase agreement that at some point they would look to exit. So
Okay. So you were born and raised in Pendleton?
No. So born in Indianapolis, 1995, moved to Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1996. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't know a whole lot. So Dad was running insurance companies out there. And so he was at the home office. It was called Life Investors, and then it was Aegon, and then they purchased Transamerica before he exited in 2004. He's from Delaware County originally.
Okay.
So he's a DeVille donkey, as we say.
Oh.
And so he came back home in 2004. He was traveling too much, tired of the CEO life, and started a financial practice, and then started acquiring real estate and stuff like that.
I thought, but you live in Pendleton now?
I do.
Okay.
I lived in Anderson for 5 years, South Side, right next to Erskine, and then we lived in a camper for the last year and trying to build a house.
Living in a camper down by the river?
Pretty much. That's the way it felt. Especially, so we had 2 kids in it, and then ended up with a third for the last month or so. So
okay,
full house.
I had to ask about Pendleton because I see you sporting your Arabians attire today. It looks nice. It looks
Thank
really
you. Thank you.
Nice,
This
it's a nice
is
green.
Provided by the school system. I actually am a high school wrestling coach. So I've been the head coach of the female program for the last 2 years, and then 3 years. This will be my 3rd year.
Yeah, when I saw coach on your LinkedIn profile, I was like, what kind of coach are we talking about here? Are we talking about a life coach? Are we talking about basketball? And when I saw that you went to Iowa, I thought to myself, did he have any impact or influence on the success of Caitlin Clark? I just thought maybe there was something there.
No, wrong sport. No, so we grew up obviously in Iowa. We moved here when I was 8, and I never became a Hoosier or a Boilermaker.
Okay.
So I always wanted to be a Hawkeye, and so we made that out of state adventure. Cost everybody a little bit too much money. Student loans have been deferred, which I'm thankful for. But
That's nice.
Yeah, learned a lot of lessons.
Okay. So you guys are a family business. So obviously we've mentioned your dad. Who else? What other Kirbys are at the Performance Group?
So my stepmom is Lisa Kirby. She's been part of the practice since 2009. That was right when they purchased the tax practice.
Okay.
And then I've got an aunt, my Aunt Missy. She works for us part-time as a bookkeeper accountant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 4 of you total?
Yes.
You have brothers and sisters?
I do have a sister. She's down in Evansville. She's studying.
She has no interest? Oh, she's going to be a nurse? Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of hoops to jump through in family business.
She's going to be a nurse. You said your dad's he's a serialpreneur, right? Like a serial entrepreneur. So she's going to be a nurse. So I'm thinking Mike Kirby's going to either open up a hospital or a nursing school.
We've talked about it because my wife is also a nurse.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I've looked at what options we have.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I've looked at what options we have. There's some certifications. I think we were talking about it was a
clinic.
That was it. There was some stuff on BizBuySell that made sense that an RN can run.
That's wild. There are certain things they would be legally able to do, right?
Yeah.
Minus surgeries.
So there's opportunities. It's just my wife and I have started one business together, and that was a big lesson that we learned. Otherwise, she's pretty removed, so it's been fun. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge another day.
You have 3 kids.
Yes.
I asked you before we started if you want to have more. You said you're not sure yet. So maybe that clinic, when you're finally done, maybe that clinic will perform vasectomies. Who knows, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be get a free vasectomy. That'd be good.
Reduced cost, right?
That'd be good.
Nothing's for free.
So again, no influence on Caitlin Clark.
None for me.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a little bit younger than I am, so I would have missed.
Well, it doesn't matter. You could have influenced her in some way. You could have.
Not exactly. I play basketball like any other wrestler. There's a lot of tackling. We're good at defense. That's about it. We're not great dribblers.
Wrestling's a tough sport.
It's an ugly world.
It is, man. I'd have a hard time being that close to another man.
I'll tell you
couldn't
what.
Do it. I mean, the distance we are, this is close enough as I want to be.
Well, I could always. We always shorten that gap. No, it's I actually didn't start wrestling until later in life. 8th grade, so that was a late start in most sports, right? Played football, baseball. I played basketball. At some point, when you're 5'2", you run out of high school options. So I really pivoted hard, and then I grew, 8 inches my junior year. So like,
Get out of here.
yeah.
Wow, that's like Dennis Rodman.
You could say that. My mom is my biological mom. She's 4'9". So
Oh,
when I was
jeez.
5'2", as a 15-year-old, we were all pretty sure that
was it?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm 5'11" and a half.
Wow. How tall is your dad?
He's about the same size.
Okay.
Yeah, I've probably got him because like he's old, so like, he's shrinking. So I've got him probably by half an inch, maybe an inch.
He's your dad, though. He'll always be able to kick your butt.
That's what he says.
There's a rule between a father and a son. No matter how big you get, no matter how old you, like, I still, like, for good reasons, respect. Like, my dad's 88. I'm pretty sure I can kick his butt.
I would hope so.
But the mental part of it, I might actually hesitate, and he might just knock me right out.
Yeah, my dad's a tough SOB, and he's got and he'll tell you that. He
Cool.
trains every day, so like he's still ready to rock and roll.
That's awesome. Good for him, staying in shape. You have to. I want to live a long life. Hopefully a long, good life.
Yeah.
Not just a long life.
now, yeah.
Yeah. I want to live a long, bad life.
Yeah.
I want to live a long time so I can have a horrible life. But no, it's good to stay in shape. You stay in shape. So what are you still doing to stay in shape? You don't do all those sports still, do you?
No, it depends. Chasing kids is a lot.
Yeah.
So I met my wife at the CrossFit gym in Pendleton.
Oh.
So at that point, I was still like 22.
Did you go there just to meet chicks?
No, I went there.
Yeah, you did.
Because
Don't lie.
I watched
You didn't
a
go-
documentary.
That's why you went
and
there.
Guys were ripped, and I was like, I want to be ripped. And then I quickly realized that my body just was not built like their bodies. Mm-hmm. And then so we have a home gym, but for like the last year, it's been displaced, so we haven't been as active as we would like to be.
Yeah. The fact that I said go there to meet chicks, that really dates me, doesn't it?
Well, technically, I did meet a chick there.
You did,
We
but
did.
the phrase "go there to meet chicks" that puts me in my. For those of you listening and watching, that puts me in my 50s. Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that was lame.
Yeah.
You went there to meet young ladies.
Yes. Respect women.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
what
right.
we
That's
did.
right. And how long have you been married? Last question. You've been married how long?
September 24th will be 5 years.
5 years.
Yes, sir.
And you have 3 kids already?
Yeah, we sprinted through them.
Goodness.
Well, so there is a trick to this. So we got engaged in New York in November 3rd, 2018.
Oh boy.
And 4 weeks later, we found out we were 5 weeks pregnant.
You're a guy. Don't throw dates out. You're going to screw it all up.
I'm
man.
pretty sure it might have been the 4th. But nonetheless, we came home and found out we were pregnant 4 weeks.
Okay.
Or 5 weeks pregnant 4 weeks later.
Okay.
So that expedited some stuff. So we had our first daughter in July of 2019 and then got married in September that year.
Okay. And then the next 2 came
2.5 years apart.
2.5 years apart. Okay.
Yeah.
And how old's your youngest now? Or she's...
My youngest is 4 months and a couple days.
All right, you better go to the doctor. Your wife's probably pregnant again.
No, sir. No, sir.
She might be. You don't know that.
Impossible.
All right. So let's... now that we have some background, personally and professionally,
Yes, sir.
probably share with everyone more than they need to hear.
Just
It's good
as
stuff.
much as they'd find out if we were friends on Facebook.
But you know what, though? It's nice. I hope the audience appreciates getting to know the guest a little bit. You know, to me, it would be really boring if we just jumped right into the meat.
Yeah, it's people business.
I mean, hopefully people are hopefully coming in because they want to learn about these things called Mike-isms.
Oh, yeah.
But it's nice to know a little bit about who's sharing this stuff. So I appreciate you sharing all those little stories and little inside information. That's fun. So, all right. So we're going to jump in. So what's today's title? If you saw it, obviously, before you came on, but I'll read it again. Today's title, I'm real excited about this one, Mike-isms. Those are real. I didn't make that up. That's a real thing. Through a conversation I had with Sean as we were trying to figure out what we could talk about today. As soon as he said his dad had Mike-isms, and from those Mike-isms, he learned lots of life lessons from his dad. I thought, we're done here. That's it. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. So that's what we're doing. Mike-isms, life lessons I learned from my dad. So in this episode, Sean will reflect on the life lessons his dad, Mike, we've referenced him a few times, has imparted through his memorable Mike-isms. Sean and I will discuss the wisdom behind these sayings, at least some of them. Like I said, you'll probably cover some of them. I did make a list of some that really stood out for me. So you may get through some of them, but I am going to at some point circle back and go, okay, let's dive into a few of these other ones. Okay. So we'll look at the wisdom behind these sayings, how they've influenced your personal and professional life, Sean, and their powerful role in guiding you today. from running a family business to navigating everyday challenges as a husband, a father, and a man, right? I mean, this is permeates your whole entire life. All right. So again, I made a list of how many Mike-isms are there? 50 some?
Yeah. So like I told you, there's probably 50.
At least 50?
Yeah. And I think the list that I had gotten over to you we had gotten to like 40.
Yeah.
I had lost the original list, so we recreated it with as many as we could. I even went to Mike and I said, "Can you think of anything else?"
He should, right?
And he goes, "Do I really sound like this?" I was like, "Yes, you do."
Oh, he doesn't? Okay.
Because again, this is something we did on the side, right? Because we are, like, me and staff and family, we're around him all the time. So we hear him repeat himself.
Yes.
Not as like a 85-year-old man, but as a 61-year-old man that we call him, especially when he was running insurance companies, it's tape recorder, right? When you give that many talks, that many speeches, you just put it in the tape recorder and you kind of go numb and you just say whatever you say, right? So, but yeah, he's when we were going through him, he started to realize how often he actually says this stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah, and maybe he doesn't think about it until you bring it to his attention, right? We don't know. Certain people bring things to our attention, and we're like, do I sound like that? Do I say that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting when that happens. You have this realization of like, oh, I do that. I do say that. That's weird.
And that's where I've caught myself. I now repeat Mike-isms to clients most of the time.
Okay.
Dad and I work a window apart, so like it's kind of.
Are you serious? You can see each other?
Yeah, and it works out well because if he's doing a tax appointment, he needs me to come talk to him, or vice versa.
Are you keeping him? Is that so you keep him out of trouble, or he keeps you out of trouble?
I think it's office layout more than anything.
Oh, okay.
I have thought about putting blinds up a couple times, but no, it works out well.
That's awesome. I was thinking that way he still gets to keep an eye on you, keep you out of trouble.
Not anymore. That's not the way it works.
All
I keep an eye on him. And his
That's why you have a wife, right?
Yeah, just because he falls.
You have a wife for that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, let's dive in. I'm sure you'll cover. Just through my questions, you'll cover some of these Mike-isms. But again, I do have a list of 11, and there are a few I'm really looking forward to hearing about. So hopefully you'll cover them. If not, we will.
Absolutely.
All right. So here's your first question, Sean. Just share a little bit about who we talked about your dad and the Mike-isms, but share a little bit, not the history of the business, but like who is your dad? What kind of person is he? And how did he influence your early years?
So early years are tough. Dad was running in gunning. So he is a ag econ, right, farm kid. So went to Purdue, right, because he's from Delaware County originally. Went to Purdue, wanted to be a farmer. Gets out of school. No, I take that. Before he even goes to school, he goes to Hobart and gets a welding degree.
Really?
Yes. So he's really the ultimate jack of all trades. He's kind of Forrest Gump if you look at his life, right? So grew up in an all GM household. Mom was a general manager at McDonald's. Dad worked on the line, and had 3 sisters. Only boy. He wrestled. I mean, like, he was the second oldest. So he was always supposed to be kind of like the leader of the family because Dad had to go to work. You got to take care of the girls, that sort of thing.
Interesting.
He started working when he was 12 years old, farming, that sort of stuff, right? Where you're throwing hay bales, or if you're actually running, back then I'm not sure equipment runs the way it runs today. So then he gets a degree in welding, thinks he wants to be a welder, decides that that's not the life he wants to live, goes back and goes to Purdue. Gets his degree in ag econ, never done any public speaking. At the end, and he's a bit of he's a social guy, likes to get out there, likes to enjoy people, right, stuff like that. So Purdue actually came to him and asked him to give the opening commencement speech at his graduation. And
really,
and maybe it's not commencement, but like the opening statement at their graduation at Purdue. And Dad said he had never done any sort of public speaking at the time, which just kind of shows like the early outside view of what people thought of him versus what he thought of himself. He said he was up there knee knocking and all that stuff. So he graduates from Purdue, gets a job back at Dale Hill High School as a wrestling coach, and I don't remember what he was doing straight out of school. And then a little company called Life Investors, based out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, was recruiting wrestling coaches to sell life insurance.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, it's very Iowa, right? Iowa's a big wrestling state.
That's awesome.
So they got him into it. And then, again, I think with his background of just being a farm kid, you just put your head down, go to work. He starts working in that business, works his way up to regional manager. And then he's running a district, and then next thing you know, they asked him to come be the CMO at the home office, and then he worked his way up from there.
That's wild.
So I think and I still go to some events with Dad today with some of his older colleagues. It's amazing to watch people gravitate to him as a person, which just shows like how kind he is, how open he is, how thoughtful he is, and he really is just a good light.
At what age when did you actually pick up? When did you start picking up on Mike? Like when did you start using the term Mike-isms, and when can you recall when these started being shared with you?
Well, they've been shared my whole life, whether or not I called them something. I just thought it was my dad talking because he just, he speaks in phrases or colloquialisms, if you want to call them.
Whoa, big word. Good job, man. Good job.
Thank you. That's where the ism comes from in Mike-ism.
Colloquial.
Colloquial. You're going to screw me up.
Sorry.
But yeah, so, when I moved here, or when we moved back, I didn't see Dad a lot. He was traveling 50 weeks out of the year running insurance companies, right? Because they had a Dutch office. They had a office in Japan. So it was a global company.
I see.
Right. So he was traveling all the time, a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of meetings. Right. So when he opened his financial practice and we moved here in 2004, that was like the first time I really remember spending a lot of time with him.
Okay.
And at the same time, that's when he started his entrepreneurship journey of opening a practice, buying a laundromat. He bought a carpet shop and turned it into Class A office space and at that time, it was storage units. Now it's turned into a truck shop since then. But what I didn't realize that I was learning at the time was on July 4th, there's a party at your house, but something breaks. You go fix it, right? And because he's a handyman, right? Because of his background, he's a welder, he's a farmer. Here's the thing about farm kids. Farm kids think that they can fix everything.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. And most of the time, like on a farm, you've dealt with enough stuff that you're a pseudo contractor, you're a pseudo mechanic, you're a pseudo welder, right? So like he's kind of jumping in. But we were fixing grinder pumps and cutting through 12 inches of concrete on a July 4th day while everybody else was still at the house having fun.
Wow.
So like just being dragged out to that stuff, and whether or not I heard the Mike-isms at the point, I started noticing them now that I'm a father myself.
Okay. What are some of the Mike-isms? I know there were at least 50 some. What are some of the ones that you can recall have had the greatest impact? The ones that I know when you first, we'll talk about this later, but you started your own podcast around this. And I think when you did your LinkedIn post introducing it, you had listed 5 of them. I don't know if those are the 5 most impactful ones for you, but just off the top of your head, what are some of the ones that have really impacted your life that you come back to over and over again?
Oh, well, I think one that we use often, and it's less about, business, but more about personal growth, is that if your home life's not right, your work life can never be. Obviously, as a young father, I was 22 when we had our first, and we were trying to figure out money. We were trying to figure out all that other stuff that comes with raising a child, let alone how do you manage a home and a workplace. Yeah,
it's hard.
What is balance? What is that piece? And now I use that conversation all the time with both staff and clients, and I coach high school sports.
Do you really?
Yeah. So I say, if your home life's not right, your work life can never be. So I would rather send somebody home for the day, go fix whatever you need to fix, because if your head's not in it, I'm paying you not to pay attention, and you're not getting anything out of today either. So go fix what you need to, come back. Yeah. So that's a good one because, especially with marriage and kids and stuff like that, it's tough to kind of keep that up. I know there's more, so I'm going to.
Are you going to your cheat sheet?
I'm going to my cheat sheet.
I have a cheat sheet. It's okay.
All right, Mike-isms.
Yeah, just look at them and is there what are the 2 or the 3 that you feel you say the most yourself, or you fall back on the most, or
don't overpromise and underdeliver. When you're young and in business, or young and just in general, you want
to please everybody.
Yeah, people pleaser, right? You want to give somebody the answer that they want, as opposed to the real answer sometimes. So I've learned that life is a lot easier if you undersell yourself and then you overdeliver on the back end, because your client or your spouse or whoever is going to be a lot happier on the back end. If I say I will get this done, this is the time frame, and it doesn't fall within that, I put myself in that hole.
So in your role, in your capacity, what's an example of where you can over deliver? How do you under promise and over deliver in your role?
Biggest thing's time frame. It's become such an instantaneous world, right? So like if you go online and you can pull up a progressive quote in 15 minutes or less, right?
Right.
It's not always that simple because we're a broker and we have multiple companies. We need time to not only assess your actual needs, but to find a nice carrier option as well as price option.
Well, you guys are an independent, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are looking at lots of different options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's managing just expectations.
Yeah. We'll be in meetings. We'll be talking to a potential client, and you want everything to be fast. And sometimes, like if there are multiple people in the meeting, someone will say, like, we'll be in a meeting on Wednesday, and they're like, we can have that proposal to you by Friday, and then the other person's like, well, maybe Wednesday of next week we can get that to you.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, it's like, first of all, whoever it is responsible for doing that proposal, we don't want that pressure of getting that done so quickly. But also, you need time, right? You want to do it well and do it right. So I would rather tell them, Wednesday and get it to them by Monday.
Exactly.
So we do that. We find ourselves wanting to impress or speed things up. Like somehow that is better way to deliver it.
It's the wrong lever.
Yeah, it's the wrong lever. I like that. Yeah. So we've done a better job. We don't necessarily use the term under promise and over deliver, but we're really careful now. Expectations is a word that we use a lot. We use it in our contracts. We use it in our conversations with clients, with ourselves. I used to always say that, maybe this is a Mike-ism, but I used to always say that everything in life is about expectations. You either meet expectations or you don't meet expectations, and that's really life. I mean, to me, it just seems that's what it is. I'm oversimplifying, but expectations are big.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even in marriage, right? Like setting expectations of whether it's timeframes or like, capacity, right? We've got 3 kids now. So like saying, hey, I can get to X on like my happiness or like excited scale, or I can get to wherever. Yeah. Especially with a newborn that's not sleeping a lot. We're both of us have gotten a lot better about that over time, just because life has gotten busier. Yeah. So that's where a family calendar really helps.
Is there any? You could either give it an exact example or just use generalities. But obviously, with these life lessons, are there any Mike-isms that you've fallen back on? We sometimes talk to ourselves. We may pray about something. We may talk to ourselves. We may think things through. Are there any Mike-isms that you fall back on as reminders in challenging situations? Where you're like kind of talking yourself through something, falling back on one of those?
Yeah. One of the good ones he has is leave your ego at the door. As a young man in somebody else's world, and I say that in like the nicest sense, like when you come in as second generation, there's one of 2 options, right? You can either squander every opportunity you have, or you can let everybody think you have a silver spoon, right? Or you can exceed expectations and take it to another level, right? And some of that can be ego-driven, right? So Dad always has said, leave your ego at the door, right? And then do what's best for the team, do what's best for the business, do what's best for the people around you. And there's a lot of times where I'll be up late at night thinking like, I'm pushing for change. I'm pushing for change. Right? That, there is no I in team, right? It's leave your ego at the door. Try to present opportunities to the team. Let the team make good decisions. And that way, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm not the only one paddling. We're all making those kind of decisions.
So leaving your ego at the door is almost like the baseline for true leadership, right? Empowering people.
Yeah. Servant leadership, right?
Servant leadership, right.
Yeah. So we went through the Leadership Academy in Madison County 2 years ago. I think that's when I went. Class 22? Class 22? You have to be part of the Leadership Academy to catch that. Have you done it?
I have not.
You should do it. It really is a great program.
I've heard.
It's a huge time commitment. It is, in its own sense, about your own servant leadership to take that time to go put into.
What was your? Do you have to do a project?
So there is a project.
Is it a team project or an individual, right?
It's a team project.
What was your team project?
Our team project was creating more green space on the west side of town.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're still working on it.
That's great. So we're talking west side isn't like West Central or West, like Edgewood?
No, West Central.
West Central, okay.
Yeah, kind of in that,
what
do they call it?
Between
grocery store gap or
between Rabel and
Yeah.
and Central, or Rabel and Maine, or Rabel Madison, or whatever.
Yeah. So our goal as a team was
It's one of those roads.
yeah, it's on the west
It's somewhere there.
create more green space, and then whether that was community gardens or stuff like that, because it was the food desert. That's what it was. Before they started putting that new grocery store in and stuff like that, it was just tough for people to access, like a good grocery store and stuff like that.
So green, as in like actual like gardens?
Yeah, green space.
Oh, actual greens. Okay.
Yeah.
The full thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's so many abandoned houses and stuff like that, so they were trying to take some of those empty lots.
So you present this idea as a team, then do you have the opportunity to actually execute on it?
And so it's 2024, almost 2025, and we're still in the execution phase.
Okay. And that's a commitment you make to carry through after?
Yeah, to anybody who is class of 22 who says that Sean Kirby's not there a lot, I do have 3 kids, and it is really hard. But yeah, they try to organize via email to get everybody back together to make those changes.
Is there a Mike-ism here about using excuses for things?
No excuses.
Okay.
Overpromise and underdeliver.
I don't see any Mike-ism about excuses. Let's see what your dad has to say about the 3 kids.
There's an excuse one in there.
All right. So how have Mike-isms? We've talked a little bit about the personal side. Specifically, I'd like to know. So here you are, second generation. You're obviously very passionate about your business and what you do and the performance group. But how have the Mike-isms shaped the way you approach business? Like when you come to work every day, are there any Mike-isms that have shaped the way you look at how I do my job, how I want to grow this business, what the future holds, your vision, your mission? Has that any influence there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the good Mike-isms is, it's right here. Nothing happens until something gets sold. So if you think about my role, right, I'm primarily marketing sales.
Okay.
So without revenue, a business does not exist. Mm-hmm. Right? And you got to sell something to somebody, whether you're selling a tax engagement, whether you're selling a property casualty insurance policy. If you can't drive revenue, you can't keep staff, right? If you don't drive revenue, you don't pay a light bill. So nothing happens in business until something gets sold.
So you might be busy, you might be doing things.
Green time's money time, right? So money's a tool. That's the biggest thing. It's not this. It's not coveted. You don't want it, right? But you need it in order to operate, to fulfill the mission. Our mission is to help families find financial independence, and we do that through the services we provide. We're better off to serve more families with more staff and better process tools on the inside, and all those things cost money, right? So we have to drive sales in order to offer the best client experience possible.
Yeah.
To help people reach their goals.
That's really cool.
That's one that I think sometimes in business we forget because we get so stuck in the business. Yeah. And unless you're in that role, sometimes you forget that revenue is number one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we try to do is, yes, we need to drive revenue, but we have to do what's in the best interest of the client or the potential client. And sometimes that's in your favor, sometimes it isn't. But that's one of our Mike-isms is do what's best for the client and do the right thing at the right time for the right reason.
There's more business we pass up on most of the time.
Yes, we have as well.
Not only for internal processes to keep things coherent in staffing, but for the client sometimes we're just not the best option.
Yeah, that's true. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and we were talking about sales and marketing. And we've tried at our company, we've tried sales. Listen, sales is great, and I think if you have good salespeople, you're selling a good product or service. If it's a lot of industries, good salespeople can really drive a lot of revenue, drive and push a lot of product or services. In ours, it's been really hard. We've tried, but when you're in a sales role, your job is to sell. The irony is that we as owners are okay with passing up an opportunity if it doesn't fit, doesn't make sense. So it's hard sometimes. How do you tell a salesperson if it's not a good fit for the company, all that time that you put into it, we're not going to do it. That's a hard thing. So that's the hard part about sales. So at our company, actually, and maybe this is the way it is at yours as well. My business partner and I still oversee the sales. Number one, we're seeing a lot of owners like to deal with other owners, but obviously we're able to then make those decisions and feel better about it. Like we're responsible for driving revenue and growth, but if we don't bring a client on because it's not a good fit or, whatever, we're okay with that. And we're not like, oh, we didn't get the sale, like we're losing money ourselves directly. So, I mean, we are, but you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, no, and it's a tough, there's that place to be.
Yeah.
And so our sales staff is myself, my dad, and then Everardo Rodriguez. He's been with us from AU's entrepreneurship program.
Really?
He graduated in 2020 or maybe 2019, fall of 19.
There you go with the dates. Why do you keep throwing dates out? You're going to screw these all up.
Kid has literally never made a student loan payment because they've been deferred so long.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if your wife watches this, which she probably will, man, I really hope you got that date right about when you went to New York, when you got married, when you had the first kid. I really hope this is all working out for you.
Yeah, she asked me our anniversary sometime, so I'd say I'm winning the battle of dates.
Okay. Any other Mike-isms that you really find yourself falling back on or saying a lot that really drive the way you run the business?
Especially in the business is help people get what they want, and you'll always get what you want.
Yeah, I like that.
Dad's always said, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people make $1 type of thing. Like if you can help people get what they want, you can always get what you want. So whether that's staff or clientele, show them the road, show them the way. And at the end of the day, the cards will always fall the way they need to.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out a way for 1 million people to send me $1.
You got to help them.
Yeah. Oh, they won't just send it to me. I can't just do a TikTok and feel sorry for myself and get $1. Okay.
No sad TikToks.
Okay. All right. So you work with your dad. You work at the business. You have a wife. You have kids. You're a coach. Where all do you find? Do you find yourself sharing these Mike-isms and these life lessons everywhere, all the time?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
And they just, do you pull them out, or they just roll right off your tongue?
Natural. So I've been in our business now since 2015.
Okay.
I was a tax intern and then got into the insurance side when we bought that in 2017. And it's osmosis. That's what I tell people. It's like, especially working a window away from Dad, like you hear what you hear, you don't mean to repeat it, but sometimes, man, that sounds good. I'm going to use that, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then, I've been coaching now almost a decade, which is crazy to think, but I've been coaching and talking to kids, and that's helped me a lot, both personally and professionally with my sales style and then the podcast and stuff like that. I've become a better communicator. And I do think that is why he has used so many Mike-isms, is because recall's a lot easier as a communicator if you can just repeat the same 50 things over and over and over again, and they kind of hold that same weight.
Okay. Were there any Mike-isms, life lessons you learned that you heard when you were little? You know how it is. Like I remember when I was younger, people say life, the years go so fast, and when you're a kid, you're like, whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, when you turn 30, you're gonna go through this big physical change. When you're 18, you're like, I'm not 30. What do I care, right? So, I mean, there are things that don't matter until they need to matter, right? So, are there any Mike-isms or life lessons that you heard over and over again when you were younger, didn't really either appreciate them or understand them, and then once you started working in the business or became a father or a husband, all of a sudden it was like, I get that one, or that one has more meaning now than it did when I was younger. Any of those? Yeah,
I got one. And it's not even like really a Mike-ism, it's just a sentence. Get up, dress up, show up.
I like that.
If you can do those three things, you're going to have an advantage on anybody else. All you got to do is get up, dress up, show up.
Get up.
That's the first part of any job.
Show up. Yep.
Right? So I use that one all the time, especially like as a coach of sports. Is like if you're not in the room, right, it's hard to get better. Get up, dress up, show up.
Yep.
And if you can do those things longer than anybody else, the results will eventually compound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same with work, right? So when I was first getting started in business, I expected this quick exponential growth. It's taken me almost a decade at this point to feel like I'm at a good starting spot in my career, right? It is not overnight success. That's not how businesses are built. Not family businesses, right? They're generational. It's that slow compounding growth.
Constant learning.
Each generation, we want to compound, and we want a 2x, we want a 5x, right? We want to hit this multiple, right? And sometimes that slow roll, that tortoise in the hare, right? Fast growth is not always good growth. Taking things slow, mapping out, doing good business with good people will long term be how you create generational wealth.
Okay. My business partner just walked by and was trying to get my attention. I'm trying not to look at her.
No, you're fine.
And I'm like, don't be trying to get my attention when I'm in the middle of a podcast episode being
Text
recorded.
me. I'm on my MacBook. I can get a text
I could have gotten a chat or anything. What is she doing?
That's all right.
All right, we're going to have to.
Faces.
Is there a Mike-ism for that? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Stay young, stay fun.
Yeah.
Wave at people when you can.
Okay. We have a couple more questions. And then we're going to go through some of those Mike-isms. But before we do that, okay. So obviously you love your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You admire your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You're proud of your dad. You're close with your dad. Blah, blah, all these things. However, obviously you're your own person, your own man, living your own life. Do you find yourself, how do you, these Mike-isms and these life lessons obviously have really influenced and impacted you and shaped you. As you continue to age and develop, do you find yourself charting? Is it easy or harder to, because of these Mike-isms, to forge your own path, or do you find those actually being a nice foundational baseline for you? And now, are you come up with your own Mike-isms now, your own life lessons that you're going to pass on to your own kids? Or are you just going to take those and just continue to pass them on from generation to generation?
Great question. So when I was talking to my dad last night or yesterday, and I was going through the Mike-isms we already had, and he goes, a lot of these aren't even mine.
I understand that.
Right?
That's
He goes,
okay.
a lot of these are this.
But he can claim them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a copyright on any of these.
Yeah. So
I think it's okay.
I think what will happen over time is I'll just tell people they're mine. Like when he's gone, they've just become mine. They're now Sean-isms.
Oh man, good job.
This podcast will be able to be found online and everyone will know the truth. But like seriously, I think what will happen is like even if I do develop my own little sayings and stuff like that, like realistically, they'll all be portions or bits or paraphrased from either himself or John Maxwell or whatever else.
Sure.
Like, the information you take in. You just hope that it makes an impact. So dad stuff obviously has made a huge impact on me. I've tried to forge my own path. I mean, I like to think that obviously with his upbringing being, low income, to work your butt off from the age of 12, bought your own car when you were 16 with your own money. Also, cars cost $50 back then, so like pretty easy.
See, I mean, there it is again. Look, see, look. No. There she is again, interrupting me. That's my business partner walking right by, trying to get my attention. Did you see that?
Yeah, she's just taking pictures. Say hi. So
I got. See, I'm gonna see if I can get this
is there
glass.
an opaque button?
I wish.
Yeah, somebody didn't spend enough money on this glass.
I know.
Put some gas inside of it.
That's Connor's. That's Connor's issues. Anyway, keep doing. What were you? Where were we?
Where were we? He had a rough upbringing. He worked hard when he was young, stuff like that. Something that I now realize as an adult was, I didn't like getting dropped off at the laundromat every Saturday while my friends played video games or slept in.
Yeah.
I never liked having horses. I thought they were
horses are awesome, man.
I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. But
because it was work.
It was work.
But they are awesome.
But I didn't like to ride them.
No, really?
No,
Okay.
I got bucked twice, and I was like,
"Ooh, that'll do it."
This is not a fun sport.
I got you.
But my job was to muck stalls, right? Stalls aren't much. You can't go out with your buddies. This was, driving gear, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then buddies come to the house. We all muck stalls faster, and then we go out, right? And then we go have fun, drive around, whatever we were doing, buying Rickers Pops. But the showing up on July 4th to fix that grinder pump, doing all those like smaller things early in life taught me that you just got to get the job done, right? Sometimes you just got to put in the work.
So the get up, dress up, show up, you were doing that real young.
I didn't have an option, right? So, I've got a 5-year-old who Saturday or Sunday, it was a long weekend, all we did all day was she filled out her chore chart and then asked for more chores so she could put more stickers on her chore chart.
Wow. All right. For all you parents, what's your home address? We'll send
5979.
There you go.
But she was in competition with her younger sister who had a potty chart because we're potty training her. So she just wanted to outdo her on the stickers. But what she didn't, in my head, what she doesn't realize is she's learning at 5 that there's reward after the work. right? And so you got to do something to get whatever that reward is. So like it doesn't happen overnight. So hopefully I can instill some of those lessons both into her, both into the kids I coach, both into clientele, right? Because I don't have 40 years experience. A decade almost now, which seems kind of crazy to say out loud because 28 doesn't feel that old, but I have a lot more lessons to learn. But obviously I had a head start by getting to do more work early because we started when we were kids. So obviously when you were little, you probably didn't appreciate all that you were doing, but looking back though, man, thank goodness you had all that, right? Yeah, that's really cool. It reminds me, the story you just shared about your 5-year-old, sounds like she likes challenges and goals, and that's pretty cool. The reason I was going to send parents your way is a lot of parents struggle with getting their kids to do any chores, and there's your child wanting more, so so move out to the middle of nowhere.
So
5'9",
7, 9. Okay.
Move out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
when you have nothing but open ground and plenty of stuff that needs done.
And don't give your 5-year-old an iPhone, right?
We're not big iPad parents. We're not.
Good.
We try to limit screen time. You do need it in like emergency situations where you just want to make stinking dinner. But yeah, and I've got great kids. I've got a good teammate in my wife.
That's awesome.
So,
I'll just share a little quick personal story related to what you just shared about your daughter. But so we have three children. They're 2 years. They're 2 years in between each of them. And for some reason, my oldest and my middle, they're very ambitious now, very hardworking. It's really interesting to see. I know they say that I know they say by age 5 you're pretty much established as to who you're going to be. Fortunately, I would have characterized my 3 kids as, when it came to chores and those types of things, a little bit lazy. Now all 3 of my kids are just workhorses. It's amazing how much, so they always say, just stick with it, keep doing what you're doing.
That's compounding growth.
Yeah, there you go. In fact, I just bought my one daughter the book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I'm hoping she'll actually read it. But my 2 oldest, it's not that they weren't ambitious. They just had no drive. Like my son was 9, I was 8 or 9. And then my second one was 2 years behind. And my third, she is the one that just like, pow. I think she was 4, just turned 5. And she's like, I want to learn how to ride a bike. My 2 oldest at that age were 9 and 7, and they still hadn't learned how to. They just didn't care.
Yeah.
They did not want to learn how to ride a bike. They just didn't care. They wanted to just do everything else. My 5-year-old gets on that bike, learns how to ride a bike instantly. Like she didn't even, she just learned. How soon after that do you think
same day? It's a competition.
Bingo. So my 2 oldest kids had no ambition. They were happy with training wheels. They were happy not riding a bike at all. They wanted to do all the other stuff. My 5-year-old learns how to ride a bike. She reminds me of your daughter. And then by the end of the day, the other 2 were riding their bike without their training. It's just kind of funny how.
Yeah, but it goes back to anything else, right? So I'm a wrestling coach. Competition breeds competition, right? Iron sharpens iron.
So you're probably not everyone earns a trophy type guy.
I am not.
Good for you.
I am not.
Never will
be.
You got to earn it, right?
Yeah. At the end of the,
it's okay to have winners and losers.
My wife was a D1 softball player, so she is.
Oh, really?
She's scarier than I am when it comes to competition.
Did she ever play in the college softball playoffs or anything?
No. So she had some medical problems that had her stop her journey early, so she finished at AU.
Okay.
But she's so competitive.
Okay.
So competitive.
Oh, she's competitive. More than you?
Way more.
Wow.
I'm a mild-mannered dude, and
really?
She is. She likes to win, and she wants you to earn it, right? So, like, she's bad cop, I'm good cop. That's the way it works.
Okay.
And in the wrestling room, I'm bad cop. So it's like I get to have both dynamics.
You could be on any given day, you could be good and evil.
Yes.
A little bit of both. What's your wife's name?
Casey.
Casey. So she might have Casey-isms, right?
Dude. Yes, she does. And if we get to 11 o'clock, she's working next door. I can call her over.
Okay, we will not. What time is it?
10:03. We got time.
All right, we're going to wrap up here soon. Thanks for letting me know. One of the things I'm thinking about is, you mentioned earlier, and I was going to share this off when we weren't on the podcast episode, but seriously, like, you mentioned about your dad said, well, not all these are my own, but no one owns those. And I know you sent me you started putzing around a little bit. That dates me as well. The word putzing around.
Uh-huh.
I'm in my 50s. But just again, okay. So you were playing around with ChatGPT, and you actually put in some of these Mike-isms, and the ChatGPT came out with a few chapters.
Yeah.
We had I'm serious. Like we had to like write a small book around the Mike-isms.
So again, I haven't trademarked anything, so don't steal anything.
I'm not going to steal anything.
Or people out there who don't know my dad. And if you do know my dad, please don't steal this. So the 10 rules of business, this is something that I didn't input on the Mike-isms, but he built out this 10 rules of business that then we built.
Your podcast was built around that, right?
So the transformation of the podcast has been built around the 10 rules of business, which is now much more educational. Okay. And they are dummy-proof, straightforward.
Dummy-proof.
Very simple. The first rule of business is stay in business.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's the
That'd
best
be really
idea.
dumb not to.
It's without the first one, you can't get to the second one.
That's pretty smart.
Right. So he's come up with these 10 rules of business. We have then now created Performance University on top of that, which is more of an education model to just tell people. One of the ones that he had me put on there is KISS, right? So keep it simple, stupid.
I knew what that one meant. I didn't put that on my list.
Yeah, so KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And then he just added another one the other day. And this was because I was buying software. And he goes, you got 2 S's and you got 2 C's. Is it a double S or is it a double C? And so it was simplify and save or solve, right?
Simplify and solve, yep.
Or is it cost and complicate?
Complicated, complex, yeah.
Yeah, so
I like it.
Don't make it harder than it has to because you're trying to chase a trend or anything like
Nobody
that.
does that. We all simplify things.
Shiny object syndrome, right? So if you can stick to the basics, stay in business, make money, know your numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Attract and keep good people. If you can do, I could maybe do all 10. Give back. I don't know what the next one is.
Oh, boy.
But like if you can stick to the very basics of business and even translate those to life or whatever it is, right? If you can stick to those very simple things, it makes life a lot easier. Don't overcomplicate it.
For you and your team and for everybody.
Exactly right.
That's really cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the dad joke.
Cool.
Then, before we wrap up, my final question to you will be around just this will be an opportunity for you to share whatever you want to share, like answer a last question about advice or things. So I'm going to do my dad joke.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to run through, you don't need to expound, but I'm going to want you real quickly, we're going to run through the 11 that I have. Okay. And I would love for you just to, I'm going to say it. You tell me what it means or how it applies or how you use it, things like that.
Awesome.
Okay. So the dad joke. Normally the dad joke, well, anyway, this one's really funny. This one's really interesting because this one's going to be really hard to know. So what I do, Sean, is when a podcast actually publishes and we post it, then on our Facebook page we share the answer to the dad joke. It's kind of fun. We do dad jokes around here. We're big on dad jokes. The dad joke for this one is, did you hear, and the reason I was going to say this one's a little bit different, it's really hard to think about the punchline because it's a did you hear type question, so it's harder. But when you see it on the Facebook, it'll make sense. Did you hear about the enormous, fierce, and powerful circus fire? I'll let you see the answer so you understand. See it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand it.
Oh, hurtful.
Oh.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to give you a little hint. Did you hear about the enormous, fierce, and powerful circus fire? Okay. So when this one publishes, whatever word, the answer will be there, and they might be like you. It might take a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then when it hits you, it's like, oh, that's good.
That's good.
See how
that was good.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not a good reader. My wife tells me that. I'm good at numbers.
Okay. So before we give you the last question, let's run through these 11 that I really like these, and just tell us either what they mean or how you apply it. Mm-hmm. Okay. First one: help people get what they want, and you will always get what you want.
Absolutely. I think that's the basis of pretty much our business, right? Is you help people get where they want to go, you're always going to get where you want to go, right? Your business is going to grow if you help people grow both professionally and personally.
Yep. Education can be formal. I like this one a lot. Education can be formal or informal, but there is always tuition due. What does that mean?
Means you learn a lot from your screw ups.
Ah.
Right? So education can be formal. That's formal education. Higher education, you pay for that in tuition.
Ah.
But in business, you tend to have a very informal education process.
By making mistakes, maybe even losing money.
Either it costs you money, costs you time, or it costs you some stress that you probably shouldn't have. But I tend to learn a lot better from my mistakes.
I like that. Education can be formal or informal, but there is always tuition due. I like that one a lot. If your home life is not right, your work life can never be.
If you can't get it right at home, it's really hard because you tend to bring it with you,
Yeah.
right? You bring the energy wherever you go. You either bring it home or you bring it to work, right? So we always tell our people that, especially like when you're hiring or you're working through issues, if your home life's not right, then your work life can never be. We'll let them take a day, go get that figured out or at least straightened up, and then come back.
You find it hard to separate the two?
I personally do because I work with my parents, right? That's its own thing.
Yeah.
You work through it. My dad and I, we used to call them, we call them Sparkies. Sparkies are a couple of FUs back and forth. And it's always in those times of growth, or it's something when something's off at home, right? And then you get it over with and you go grab a beer. And Dad's from, 80s corp world where that was part of it. 2020s corp world, not a lot of Sparkies. There's too many safe spaces. So you get them out and just keep moving forward.
Okay. I like that. It only counts as a mistake if you didn't learn from it.
Similar to tuition, right? Like if you do the same thing twice, shame on you. So pivot quick, make improvements.
I like that though. It's not that it's not a mistake. It only counts as a mistake.
Yep.
If you don't learn from it. I like that a lot. Now this one was interesting. I don't know if this is a typo or intentional. Build through intrapreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. So entrepreneurs are the guy who takes all the risk.
Yep.
Right? What we try to do with our business model and our staff is we give them the opportunity to build within our business, right? Build your business within ours. So everybody has a department, everybody has a role. Build your role, right? So when I started, it was me, my dad, Lisa, my stepmom, and then front desk, which is our receptionist, Bethany.
It was 4 of you.
Now we're a team of almost 10 during our peak season. And when you're a small business, a lot of the time you don't have a bunch of capital to throw at people, right? So what you do is you show them opportunities, and then through those opportunities they can grow. So I don't know if you have it down on there, but it's opportunity, environment, and money.
Environment, money.
So my dad uses that all the time, both with people, partnerships, and everything else. Opportunity, environment, and money. Most companies, all you really need is 2 of those 2 things to keep staff.
Okay.
Right? So if you have an opportunity and you have a great environment, people will stay.
Yep.
If you have money and a opportunity, people will stay. Right? But if you start to lose that environment, or you go down to just one of those things where you just have a good environment,
now you're in trouble. Yeah.
Then you're going to start to lose people.
And then if you have all 3,
you've got a heck of an opportunity.
yeah, it's gold.
Yep.
Gold, baby.
We build people through intrapreneurship. So it's that person. They're not carrying as much risk, but they can still grow in our organization.
I like it. It makes a lot of sense. Keep the money on your farm.
Keep the money on your farm. So we own a tax accounting office. My dad obviously is a serial entrepreneur. He owns a lot of real estate, laundromat, stuff like that. And when we meet with clients, some of them are farmers, some of them are business owners. And this is in regards to taxes, right?
Okay.
So how do you keep the money on your farm and not the government's farm, right? So how do you keep that tax liability here? And it's just reinvesting is kind of the idea, right? How do you create generational wealth? Farmers do it better than anybody.
They do, and teachers.
Right, so they do it better than anybody because they can buy more ground, they can buy more equipment, they can build and grow, and then they pass it off to the next generation, multi-generations.
I read a book many years ago about becoming a millionaire, or it was I forget, man, I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was about what a real millionaire looks like.
Millionaire Next Door.
There it is. Thank you.
First book I ever read.
No way. It was one of my first books.
Well, first book I ever read as an adult, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you read that?
I read.
Mommy,
guys,
read me.
I've read books. I'm not well read, but I've read books. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
I loved, Millionaire Next Door was really insightful. I mean, it dove into like what nationalities are saved well. But one of the things I learned from that was that most millionaires, true millionaires, you can't spot them. They don't look like what you think a millionaire is. They don't live. Most of them have used trucks, used cars. They don't buy a lot of clothes. They don't go on extravagant vacations. They usually buy one home and stay in it forever. I mean, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
but
assets over liabilities.
There you go. But what really stood out for me is that farmers and what's ironic is teachers. So we talk about how teachers don't make a lot of money, but farmers and teachers. I don't know what I don't know if they shared the reason in the book, but teachers and farmers are the best. It's been proven statistically that they are the best at stretching a dollar and saving a dollar and making that dollar last long term. I don't know how. I forget the reason why. But so you mentioned the farmers. It's true. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Keep the money on your farm because farmers are they are entrepreneurial. And I mean, a lot of farmers are good. In order to run a farm, you have to have a good business mind.
Well, most of the time you're living on borrowed money most of the year, right? Because you only get paid once or twice a year.
Right.
So it's an ultimate game of cash flow analysis and making sure that your numbers are square. So our third rule of business is know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you're out of business quick.
Yep. There you go.
So yeah, if you can reinvest the dollar and save, the cents. One of my other ones is don't spend a dollar to save a dime. And that's a big one for business owners early is they think they have to go out and buy something to get rid of a tax liability. Don't spend a dollar to save a dime. If it's costing you not to have it, you better buy it. That's another one.
Okay.
But there's lots of them.
This is awesome. You keep just throwing them in there.
They play off each other.
That's nice. I like it. And what I'm impressed is that you're remembering them. That's what's awesome.
That's all.
So you're actually delivering on the promise that I actually live these and know these things.
They're ingrained.
Good job. Okay, we have a few more. Time, capital, or knowledge. Time, not and. Time, capital, or knowledge. What is that? What's the or? What's the tie there?
So that's in regards to partnerships. The only reason you go into a partnership is somebody has more time than you, time that you don't have, right? Capital that you don't have, or knowledge that you don't have. Otherwise, you don't need a partnership. So a lot of small business owners, they want a partner that does the same thing that they do because they want a friend for when it gets bad, right? But what you really need in a partnership is somebody who can fill your gap, right? So time, knowledge, or capital.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I wasn't sure what that meant, but I'm like, I want to know what that means. That's a good one. Okay, we have a few more. People changed, but rarely.
Second chances. But everybody deserves a second chance, right? But it's kind of the fool me once, fool me twice thing. People change, but rarely. So once you get to a certain level of chances, cut bait, move forward.
Do you think that's true? Do you think people can change, but they rarely do? Have you seen that in your own?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think you can't pour all your coffee in somebody else's cup and assume that they're going to always be able to give back. So. It's more so you can have an out at some point because we're generous people. We always think the best of other people. At some point, there's not much more you can do.
And I may have shared this on a previous podcast. It comes up a lot. Is a lot of particularly family businesses. In fact, I just had a conversation yesterday about this. One of the biggest challenges for family businesses, because they're so loyal, family businesses, they really do put the people first, their clients, their customers, their team members. They really actually make decisions based on these types of things built around certain values and principles and morals. And they will sacrifice oftentimes their own needs just to feed into those other stakeholders, right? And I think one of the biggest challenges is sometimes a lot of family business owners hold on to team members too long. They always want to see the best in people. They always believe it's just a matter of time. Yeah. They might even see someone make the same mistake over and over again, thinking that they're going to change. It's going to get better. It doesn't happen often. I mean, we're very fortunate. We all have primarily good employees, but I do believe that people do change, but rarely. Meaning, from my perspective, and what I've seen from talking to other family business owners is don't stretch that trust or don't stretch that what's the word I'm looking for? That compassion longer than it should.
Yeah. Another one Dad says a lot is the right seat on the bus, right? Is having somebody on the right seat on the bus. So usually when things like that pop up in our business are you in the right seat, right? Are you where you need to be for your personality type or whatever it is? Do you just need to switch seats in order to still be able to add value.
Yep.
And then, go back to people change but rarely.
Okay. We have 3 more. Inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. What is that?
That's learning how to be a manager.
Okay.
So we give very open ground to our internal staff. We have great staff. We have wonderful people, but you have to inspect what you expect. Okay. Right. So that's.
And what does that mean?
That's pulling reports. That's making sure things are getting done.
Looking at the numbers. Looking at the analytics. Okay.
Yeah. So you create those expectations for staff members that you have to inspect. And my dad's always said my whole life, I'm not a manager, or he's not a manager, right? That's just not his strong suit, right? Is being a manager, you got to be very blunt, you got to be direct, you got to tell people this isn't. These are our places for improvement. You're put on a PIP program or whatever it is. But inspect what you expect.
I like that. We use the word analytics and analyze a lot, but I like the word inspect. That's pretty cool. Last 2. R, it's an acronym.
This one is, the next one is not. The last one is a word.
Oh, okay. It's just a word. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But that's, to me, one of the most important ones.
Okay. So, well, good. I have it last. No. Oh, geez. I dinged it. You'll understand that in a second. The last is the word last. That's why that's so funny. Okay. So, what is, I walked right into that one. What is ROH?
So again, we own a financial advisory firm. ROI is a very popular term, right? Return on investment.
Yep.
ROH is something my dad started saying, I think probably in his later years too, and something we use with clients a lot. So when we have a client, a lot of the time we'll give them what's called a master dream list, right? On this master dream list, you'll put where you want to go, what do I want to be, what do I want to achieve, what do I want to learn, right? Those types of things with a date.
Yeah.
ROH is return on happiness.
Wow.
Right. So it's not a numerical value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you have to make an investment in either your family, something fun, right?
Okay.
You got to take that edge off. Not everything can be ROI, return on investment.
That's true.
If you live that strict life, nobody's going to like you very long, right?
I don't even like yourself.
And usually you don't, because you're too stuck
stressed,
in the game.
and you're stuck and stressed and overwhelmed.
Stuck in the game. So return on happiness. I bought a Polaris Ranger 4-door 2 weekends ago at our house for the farm, and I told my wife that there is no return on investment if we buy this. This is a return on taking the kids on drives, taking care of the farm, and the kids want to go on it all the time, right? So to me, the money I spent on that is return on happiness. I will never get my money out of it. It will always be an incurring expense. But that's return on happiness.
That's cool. Yeah, and if you have someone who's frugal or real holds on tight on money, and they get no conversation with someone who understands the ROH person is going to tell you, that's going to cost you money, and yes, the money's gone, but you need to do these things to experience life and have joy and happiness in your life.
Life is not very fun on a spreadsheet.
You got to have fun.
Yeah.
You got to have fun. I like that a lot. I was wondering if it was return on, but I couldn't figure out what the H was. Yeah. I like that a lot. All right. So the last is last. So you say that is not LAST. That is last.
That is last.
Okay. What is it?
It's the number one key to being successful. You got to last. My dad told me in 1984, he went to his first insurance conference, met some old guy, and said, "What's the key to this business? Is it leads? Is it, is it phone calls? Is it dials? Is it whatever?" And this old white-haired guy looked at him and said, "Last. If you can last in this business, in any business,
survive, endure.
If you can last, good times, bad times, all of it, you will succeed."
Yeah, there are some of these Mike-isms would apply to even our business. Like, it's funny. There was something you shared earlier that we've been in business 16 years, and we're learning things even now. We're like, how do we not know this at year 3? Like, what the, come on. But it's true. But we lasted. We started our business in 2008.
Not the best time to be
Think
a marketing
about that.
firm.
Yeah. I mean, we started in 2008, a marketing firm in East Central Indiana.
Yeah.
But we and then, of course, COVID. So we've lasted. Every year you always think the next year is going to be the best, and we've had some good years. We've had some down years. I'm going to be transparent and say there have been some years. I mean, and honestly, I think unless things are perfect, I think a lot of owners, whether you're family business or otherwise, you probably have moments where you're like, why am I doing this? Like, this is hard. I don't want to, should we do this anymore? Is there something, I mean, there are days that I wake up and I'm like, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. And then there are days like, I can really see myself doing something else.
Anything else. My dad says if you're an entrepreneur and you're down to quitting once a week, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. So we have lasted through some tough times. We've had some good years. We've had some rough years, but we're always optimistic, and we always push through. We're always, seeking what's next and seeking opportunities, and we never give up. We always fight. Mark, your industry is competitive. Our industry is competitive. I mean, we're all in competitive industries, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to last, you got to incorporate a lot of these. It's funny that that's the last one, because the only way to last is to do a lot of these Mike-isms, right? Otherwise, you're probably not going to last. So I love it. All right, before we wrap up, is there any advice that you would like to share? Any wisdom or life lessons that you want to share that you haven't had the opportunity to share, or just general advice to people out there about how to run a business, how to apply these life lessons at home or in your marriage or anything? It's your opportunity just to share whatever you want to share. And you have the right to pass.
Yeah. No, I'd say this. As a young person who works in the family business, who has had, the Sparkies we talked about with my dad. When you're young, you think you're hot cheese and you're trying to change the world and you're setting the place on fire, and you want to make the change. There's a lot of lessons in the words you hear, and especially from old gray-haired guys. And
hey, watch yourself.
Just saying.
Just because I have gray hair doesn't mean I'm old.
50's pretty old.
Oh, wow.
Halfway there, buddy.
I'm more than halfway, actually.
Well, we'll see where we end up. Modern medicine.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's the little things you take away from conversations can make a big impact, both personally and professionally. These Mike-isms, right? These are just things my dad has instilled through just repetition. And now I hear myself saying them to the next generation, whether it's my kids or the kids I coach or clients I'm working with. It's okay to be like your parents. We all grow up thinking we're going to be everything but our parents.
Sometimes people try so hard to not be like their parents. They fight it. They just fight it.
Yeah, there is a biological, hereditary thing that makes us like our parents. And you have to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly, and take the best parts of your parents and instill that in your kids, and hopefully they can perpetuate that to the next generation.
I think that if I haven't said it already, I think it's really cool. Like, I was excited about talking about these Mike-isms, but just to see the level of excitement, again, I mentioned it earlier, just the admiration, respect, and love you have for your dad, I think that's fantastic. I mean, a lot of people struggle. My son and I have, we've struggled over the years. It's been, we've had some tough years, but I don't know if my son loves me as much as you love your dad, but I hope someday.
Yeah, well, there's days. There's days. And that's the thing, is like, especially when you work a window away from a guy for as long as I have, is there's years, there's days, there's months, there's weeks where you're mad about something that at the end doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think it took me having kids, and maybe it's the more I've added to the group, to make me realize that time is finite. My dad lost his parents in the last 2 years.
Jeez. That's tough.
At some point, family's all you got, and you try to perpetuate, whether it's through your business, through telling stories, right? That oral history.
Keeping that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I started to appreciate my parents in the lessons that I learned from my parents, the things I learned directly or indirectly, once I had kids. But honestly, I don't know if it's a maturity thing, if it's a life experience, if it's just an open mind. Sometimes you have to be looking for things. You have to be open to things to receive things, right? But as I get older and as I age, especially once I got into my late 40s, early 50s, I really am really starting to appreciate my parents. I'm like, now I really understand why they said that, or why they did this, or why.
And you start to accept them for their faults, because they do have faults. Because when you're a kid, they do no wrong. They are boss. They are, this figure that runs the household.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start to see the cracks. Like, there are cracks. I'm not, I love my dad to death, but like, we all have faults. I have faults myself.
That'll be another podcast.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll get into your faults.
But like it's important to realize that people are people, and you take the good, the bad, and the ugly. You intermix the best, and you just try to share that with everybody you can.
I feel like my return on happiness in my life would have been better if I'd listened more to my parents when I was younger. I tried so hard to fight. My parents were very wise, and I should have listened more. That's for sure. I should have listened to my K and Jack-isms. My K-isms and my Jack-isms. I didn't do it. Okay. Awesome. All right. So before we wrap up here, I do want people to learn. You know, they've been hearing some really good insights from you. I think we covered a lot. I think those expectations I set in the beginning. I think if they apply what they heard today, they might be able to do all those things that we.
There's a lot of opportunities, but again, here's the thing: they're just words, right? They're just words.
You got to live them.
There's actions required, them. Right? So implementation is key. It's also the hardest part.
Okay. So your website is, if you want to learn more about Sean or his company, do you go by The Performance Group or just Performance Group?
No. So we just go by Performance Group.
That's what I thought.
That's what we have trademarked. If you go to downtown Lapel, there is a realty group that has The Performance Group on their sign. And I've thought, maybe, I've called them before and asked them to remove it as a joke. She hung up on me. But I've thought about sending a cease and desist because I know I at least have it trademarked.
Okay.
So if you're listening, person out of Lapel,
that's awesome.
please reach out to me.
So it is performancegroupindiana.com.
Yep.
Facebook Performance Group?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then if they want to actually check out, I know you're not active now, but where would they go if they wanted to check out previous episodes of your podcast?
Yeah. So if you go on YouTube, it's Performance University. If you go on Apple or Spotify or one of the other ones, it's the 10 Rules of Business podcast. 10 is the number 10. And so that's the best way to hear the podcast that we've done in the past. That's morphed over time. Again, I was a young man when I started interviewing, kind of similar to you, other business owners, and then we've kind of morphed it more to that education model as I started to learn that my dad's smarter than I thought he was, or maybe I just needed to listen more. So I started bringing him on and having those conversations.
That's what I thought. I thought you had your dad as a guest on multiple ones, right?
Yeah. So that was us going to that 10 Rules of Business segment. So, and then we host Performance University. It is November 8th, 2024, here at the same building I'm in right now at the flagship in the auditorium. You'll get an invitation after we're done. It's a quick crash course on all things small business. We're going through the 10 Rules of Business segments. We're going through cash flow management, entity structure, tax planning, business succession, goal planning, that sort of stuff. So it's a great event. We had it here last year. This whole place has been fantastic. Bankable, because we had a business lending conversation. So Bankable and Citizen State Bank came in and talked about that too. Okay.
So I like Citizen State Bank. It's good people over there. Good people. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching and or listening to this Up in Your Family Business podcast. If you like this one, I'd encourage you to check out some previous ones that we have. You could find those on iHeart Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or on our website, element212.com. That's element212.com. And of course, we have some new ones coming soon. And Sean, thank you for being here. Let me go back up to the top and see how we did. What were those expectations I set for you?
Oh, they were pretty hefty.
I know. So we obviously got insights from you. I think if they apply the Mike-isms, they'll probably be able to solve some problems because problems come in many forms and different ways, right? Hopefully they'll be inspired by the stories you've shared. Your dad is an entrepreneur, so there could be you shared a lot of entrepreneurial spirit type stories, so there could be an opportunity to seize opportunities. And then if they do all this, if they want to, obviously the hardest part is multi-generational prosperity. Obviously you have to have children and do that want to work for you. But I think you covered most of these.
I did my best.
Man, you did awesome, man.
I appreciate the opportunity to jump on.
Yeah, I was so excited to do this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories and all the inspirational stories, and just thanks for sharing those life lessons and that wisdom that was passed down from your dad to you. And that I'll have to have your son on here. I'll have to have some.
I got 3 girls. So
3 girls. I'll have to have your girls on here in like 20 years.
Like we said earlier, we don't know if we're done. Maybe the 4th one. I think the statistics say likely it's a girl.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And let's all get back to work.